Texas is the biggest battleground state.
And in 2020,
we have the opportunity
to turn our state blue
up and down the ballot.
We have the opportunity to expand access to affordable health care, finance our public schools, strengthen our economy, and take meaningful action on gun violence. There's so much more in the United States Senate.
We have the opportunity to pave the way towards a more sustainable future at the Texas Railroad Commission.
We have the opportunity
to elect judges
and the justices
who will restore fairness, equality,
and balance in our courts.
We have the opportunity
to shape the political future of Texas
and repair the broken systems
that disenfranchise working families in our great state.
We have the opportunity to ensure that Texans in positions of power
embrace empathy,
open minds,
and swing open the doors of possibility.
By working together
and uniting behind our shared vision of a more inclusive world,
we will win back our state.
We will win because we have to.
We have to put an end to the hate, the lack of access, and the suffering.
We have to deliver on the fair shot that every Texan deserves.
Our cause,
our movement,
is about the restoration of justice and the expansion of opportunity.
None of this can be accomplished unless we work together.
In order to bring lasting change to Texas,
we must work alongside every down ballot candidate, every activist, and every Texas Democrat
to continue building the largest democratic movement our state has ever seen.
We're asking you to be a part of this historic fight.
Together, we will create a Texas that we can all believe and thrive in.
Together, we will save Texas and in turn, save the entire country.
Join us.
Join us.
Texas is the biggest battleground state in the country. Our Democratic Party is building a future that is focused in equality and prosperity.
Our mission is innovative, inclusive, and hopeful. We are creating a Texas that we can all believe and thrive in.
Some of the boldest Democrats to navigate the halls of Congress have called Texas home, and some of them have even made their mark on the White House.
Texas produces progressives, trailblazers, and steady-handed leaders alike who consistently push the needle on issue after issue.
Our leaders champion the noblest of causes because we believe that our country is stronger when we celebrate diversity, live our values, and inspire unity.
Texas Democrats have built a movement founded on landmark policies and programs that make America one of a kind.
We safeguard our planet and fight for equal rights. We deliver on building an economy that works for all Texans. We defend a woman's right to choose, and we challenge the inhumane policies that set to tear our country apart.
While Texas Democrats may differ in their approaches, each one of them has fought like hell to change the course of history and leave our state that much more equitable.
We are the party that paves the way for the future because we cannot advance as a society until everyone has a seat at the table. Donald Trump can't win the White House without Texas, and we've got a plan to defeat him.
We know that the strength and resilience of our movement means that we can overcome any challenge set before us.
We know that we will succeed because what we are fighting for is humane, it is just, and it is truthful.
Every day, little by little, our movement grows and our chants for justice ring louder.
We are shaping the political future of our state and ensuring that everyone has a fair shot at the American dream.
This is what it means to be a Texas Democrat. Because when we save Texas, we save our democracy.
And when we save our country, we save the world.
everybody, and welcome to Texas Tea with James. Beep, 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 beep. We're so excited to have you all back today. So we're here. I cannot believe we have another day of early vote done. More and more people are voting. Everybody's getting to the polls, but we have to make sure everyone heads out. No one can stay home this election. It is going to be a tight race, but we are going to be able to win this. We're going to be able to create dignity in the highest office of the U.S. again. We're going to be able to fight for healthcare, to fight for women's rights, to fight for these passions, these issues that are so important to not only the people of Texas, but to the whole U.S. and to the whole world. And it is so exciting to see people voting. You know, it's not even hot to stand in line anymore. And so it's really great temperatures. Remember to find your polling place. You can go to mytexasvotes.com. You scroll down a little bit, put your address in there, and easily find the closest polling place to you. You can also find multiple polling places. So if you're commuting to work, or if you need to go to Target to go buy something, you can always go on there to find the most convenient polling place to you. It's so easy. I found out there was one 0.3 miles away from me. And so mytexasvotes.com. So yeah, really excited about my guest today. He's a native Texan. He's really fighting for what he believes in. He's seen issues in his community, and he hasn't just talked about it, but he's actually created action. I think it's really passionate to see people who aren't necessarily, I know it's just more, it's gonna motivate us to get to the polls. We're gonna learn about what he's standing up for, and I'm so excited to have him. Oh, hey Gus, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. Where are you right now?
I am at my home in Amarillo, Texas. It's actually pretty snowy outside, and it's funny because the Biden bus is scheduled to be here tomorrow morning. We're not sure if they're going to make it because it's a lot of snow from a snowstorm last night.
I heard there was snow up there, and I'm currently in Austin, and it is freezing for us. It's it's chilly, like 46, and I cannot imagine that you're dealing with snow right now.
Yeah, it was like 16 degrees last night, so it was cold here.
Well, that's crazy. Well, I'm really excited to have you on today. Could you introduce yourself, say where you're at, and maybe just like a little bit about your campaign?
Yeah, my name is Gus Trujillo. I'm 34 years old, and I was born and raised right here in Amarillo, Texas. And I actually interned for the guy that I'm looking to replace. He's actually retiring. So he's a longtime Republican who was involved with the House Armed Services Committee. And he was there for about 24 years. And so now I'm actually running for his spot. This is my first time running for Congress. And this has been a really crazy race because a lot of people on here may know who I'm talking about. But my opponent is Ronnie Jackson, who was Donald Trump's doctor, who said he was, physically fit and like an athlete and all this other stuff. And so I've gotten a lot of national attention because of that. And some fundraising dollars as well. I mean, it's crazy to see how people in Seattle or New York or wherever they send small grassroots funds to my account. But like I said, I was born and raised here in Amarillo, Texas, and I went to all public schools, to Amarillo College, which is our community college, and then West Texas A&M University. And so now I'm running for Congress. This is my first time.
I think your race is really exciting because it is an open seat. So that means there's 2 new people running for that. It's really going to be a close race. You've run a really fun campaign, and I do give you good credit. You were online before we all had to go online. I really appreciate your Instagram updates and your videos that you were posting. I thought that was really good outreach. And I think it's really cool that you interned with the person you're hopefully going to have their job. But so I'm going to ask you a couple questions. We're going to get to know you. We're going to talk about policy, also talk about your personal life, and I got a little quiz at the end if you're up for it.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, well, so you mentioned it. I really appreciate that you are born in the district that you want to represent. Why is that important to you that you're still where you grew up?
Well, I think that it's really important in this race, too, because my opponent is an outsider. And a lot of people here, it's been an interesting race because a lot of even Republicans, I've been a lifelong Democrat. I think the first president I voted for was John Kerry way back when. So I think that this race, it's very important because now we have a Democrat, which is myself, who's local, who's from here, and my opponent, who is not from here and who has come in to basically take the seat. So I know that that resonates on not only Democrat side, but Republican side. They don't like that it's an outsider that's coming in. And I think that being local is very important because I have been on, so I've already lost count of how many interviews I've done for issues for my area. And even sometimes I'm surprising myself and knowing, oh, I know what that's about. This is an easy question because I know this. And yet my opponent doesn't do any interviews. So I think that that's a strength of mine, and I hope it helps with this election. And I couldn't tell you what's going to happen on November 3rd because this area is seen as a very red area, but I think that there's a lot of change happening all across not only the nation, but the state of Texas is probably going to be purple. We're hoping it to be blue, but I think it's going to be probably purple or close to blue. So this November, it's happening fast, and that's how my campaign has been trying to ride the waves of a COVID-19 pandemic and do everything online. And so it's been interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Your opponent is very missing. It's very hard to see any of his interactions. He doesn't seem to be talking to any of his future possible constituents. And so it is really refreshing to see you out there, to see you have accessibility. And then I also really appreciate, you're fighting for people that you understand. So I know you've said you've had a lot of friends that are moving to Dallas or moving to big cities. What are some ideas that you want to bring to Congress to keep people where they're from and create jobs that are really worthwhile staying for in Amarillo and the rest of the Panhandle and whatnot?
Yeah, I think that when I graduated college, it was sad to see a lot of my friends left, and they left to the big metropolitan areas of Dallas and Austin, Houston. And I was always, thinking even when I was younger, it's like, how can we improve our area? And, when I was younger, it was about Amarillo. But then as I started to travel this district and see the small towns, and then Wichita Falls is our second major city. So it's Amarillo, Wichita Falls that are the two big cities in this district. And then everything's a small towns. When I would pass through those small towns, it was depressing because they were already suffering before the pandemic. And now it's even more prevalent because, businesses are just shutting down. And then, of course, with the pandemic, having to make social distancing and occupancy an issue as well is shutting that down. So I think that the biggest things I would love to do is I think the primary job of a congressman is to try and fight for federal dollars that are going to come into our district and help us. And I think that rural broadband is a huge thing here. I've actually had issues where I cannot Zoom with some potential voters, especially during the pandemic, because the broadband was just real bad. It would just constantly cut off or not work at all. And healthcare, I think, that is the biggest issue, I think, across the nation, but especially here in our rural community. So besides the healthcare issue, I think that tangible things that we can help for our district is getting rural broadband in place, attracting industries. Texas and Austin, actually, they were awarded the Tesla. I guess they're going to build a huge factory out there and build these huge trucks. And I thought, man, that would have been perfect here because we have a ton of space and we have a lot of talent. And I always think if I were in Congress, I would be vying for that factory to be here and not in the bigger cities. Because I really think that we need to pay attention to our smaller areas. And even like here, we're on Interstate 40. It's a major highway and we have a lot of potential. And the whole district does. So I think that we need to pay attention to those kind of roles and just bring new jobs and new, better opportunities for young people to stay in our area.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like growing up somewhere that you really can picture your whole future for. And they have the resources and they have the opportunities to really make that life really feasible and enjoyable. And I think there's been a lot of lack of leadership creating those jobs and getting those industries and really fighting for the areas that they're actually representing. And that's why I really like what you've been talking about, what you've been saying, your campaign, that you really have a good grasp over what your people need and where your area is. And so I think it's really great. I also would like to hear more about your time as an intern. As like the person that you were as Fannie representative, could you go into some lessons that you take from that time and what you hope to bring, what experience you hope to bring with you?
Yeah, the way I interned with the congressman, the congressman I interned for was Congressman Mac Thornberry, who I said is retiring after 24 years. I got that internship through our university here at West Texas A&M University, where they put a bunch of money into a pot. Basically, every student pays into it, and then we get awarded the it's like a prestigious scholarship to do that internship. So that year I was lucky because it was me and a friend who got it. I guess we were both pretty well qualified that it was the first time that they chose both interns from the same university, because they usually choose from different ones. And that helped a lot. I mentioned that because it helped that she and I were friends before, because when you go into Capitol Hill, it's like a dog eat dog world type environment. So other interns will throw other interns under the bus to get ahead, it's kind of crazy, but I found that out there. And luckily we did not have that with me and my friend who got the internship as well. But I think that experience is like the best experience I ever had in my life, because I mean, you're there at the just the political capital of the world, essentially. And to intern for a congressman who, even though he was a Republican, there were some common viewpoints that we agreed on because we are from the same area. So it's not like I interned for somebody who was way across in the West Coast or something. So I think that has really helped with my campaign now, because I have told people that my campaign is about unity and like a sense of fellowship among people to unite both sides, because, I'll always be a Democrat my whole life. And I think that we need to not just listen to our side, but we do have to listen to the other side, especially in my district. If I were to win, a majority may be Republican voters who just did not want an outsider coming in, so they voted for me, and I have to take that into account. So this is about representing all people, not just our various sides. And I think that with the internship experience I had up on Capitol Hill, it was really rewarding because we got to meet all kinds of people that would come to the office. I actually posted a picture the other day of Admiral McRaven, who he's a really cool guy and really down to earth. And we took a picture with him. And I know that he's been a very vocal person against Trump. And, I really respect people like that, because they're going against their own party because they see the threat that this president poses for the next 4 years. So I think that just having the experience of being in the legislative process firsthand as an intern was really rewarding. And it was for a congressman who had a lot of seniority. I mean, when you're in there for 24 years, you have a lot of seniority. And so what I tell people now is that we are going to lose a congressman who had a lot of power, a lot of seniority, and freshman congressmen that come in, they don't have much power unless they know people, or they that's pretty much the main focus of it, is if they know people. And my opponent has been saying, well, I know the people in the Trump administration and this and this. And I tell people, it's like, well, what are we going to do if that administration, which more than likely it looks like it, they're not going to get reelected? He starts at square one. Whereas with me, the House is going to be controlled by Democrats. And I'll have more power than this guy does, because he'll just go in there and be kind of like a lame duck. So it's there's a whole bunch of moving parts to this stuff, but I've been trying my hardest to campaign for the support of my own area, and I think it'll pay off. I hope it does, and we'll see how it happens on Tuesday.
Yeah, for sure. Could you also talk about, I know you said your favorite part of this internship was your talking to Texans and taking those calls. Could you just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, every day we would have to take calls, and it's funny because we had two rules to that, and every office is different. But our rules were that we could not hang up on them unless they were cursing at us or they were yelling at us. And so me and my friend, we both got plenty of calls all the time, and I thought mine was the longest. I think I was on the phone for like 45 minutes with a constituent, and she was on with hers for almost 2 hours, I think. And so it was just somebody that wanted to talk, and the office understands that. You're like, well, you are technically working. You're talking to a constituent. And I think that those calls were really meaningful because they, when we were up there, we actually missed being home. And when I would hear calls of like somebody was, here in Amarillo somewhere that I knew, or they were in Wichita Falls or some other small town, I thought, well, it kind of makes me miss home more, because DC is a very fast paced very, I would say, temporary city. A lot of people come in and they leave. And so that was really comforting. But I think the biggest takeaway from it was that we heard people that had issues with their Social Security, with their Medicare, with their Veterans Affairs. And they would ask us, questions, and we would have to know a lot of different things about the office. But if we couldn't answer those things, or if we couldn't get it to somebody special, then it would be passed on to our to the staff, who would then pass it on to the congressman. So he would take calls himself too. And I think that, that was an office. It was a great office to work for, because there were other offices that I heard so many stories, because all the interns kind of talk about their offices, and they had all these horror stories. And I thought, man, I didn't have any kind of horror stories. So I was fortunate in that part. And so, but I think that the constituent calls, that is definitely something that there were so many takeaways to help them back home. And I think even now on the campaign trail, people have always asked me, oh, are you going to do town halls? Because the last congressman didn't do town halls and everything. I said, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. And I'm definitely going to have an office in the two major cities, and then have some kind of a system in place so that there can be surrogates, I guess you can say, in the smaller towns to talk to those people. So I think that internship helped me a ton, in that I wanted to run for office. And who would have known that it was going to be my first time and having to experience all this during a pandemic. But it's been very beneficial, and I hope that people will take that into account when they vote in November.
Absolutely. I think it's such quality experience that you really can only get when you're in the U.S. House or in the Senate. And I think it's such a powerful thing that you're going in with. And I really like the idea of how involved you're going to be with the people, and really be listening to us Texans and bringing the best you can back to your hometown. And talking about that, I also would like to hear some of your ideas about the farm areas. I know there's a big farm industry in the district. What are some things that you think could be improved or changed to help out those people?
Yeah, our area is very heavy on agriculture. So it's been like that this whole time, and it still continues to be like that. And so I think that with the COVID-19 pandemic, that it's interesting how they were starting to get help here towards the end during an election time from the president, when we've been trying to get that kind of help for a long time. And so I think that the farm area here, they've suffered things with the pandemic, but also there are a lot of our farms here are small farms. So a lot of them don't qualify to get the migrant workers that are brought here with the H-2A program. And so that's one of the first things that I think would need to be changed, because in the H-2A program, you have to have there's a few requirements to have a minimum wage, and then you have to be a farm of a certain size and everything. So I think that trying to change that program to where it helps smaller farmers is going to be more beneficial, because they are not only the ones suffering from the pandemic, but even before this, they were having a hard time getting their products to market without all this red tape. And that is our biggest competitor in the world economy, is that we have a ton of exports from our farmers, and a lot of them come from here. And so I think that we need to make it easier for them to get their products to market, and to provide them with this help. And I mentioned migrant farmers because they are essential workers even today, because they're still out there picking the fruit or doing things on farms that are providing the help that, people like you and me need. And we're here on, in a comfortable environment live on Instagram, and they're out there doing the real hard work. And a lot of Americans don't want to do that. So I think that we still need to continue to support those programs. And the ones that understand that the most are farmers. So that way it keeps their costs low. It keeps their farms up and running, because even now we've had a record number of bankruptcies from farmers that have not been able to get assistance. And I hope that does not continue. And I think that it'll take a bunch of action from this new Congress to rebuild the economy, and it has to include our farming community too.
Absolutely. They really are, the groundwork of the economy. They're literally working on the ground, and they're so important to all of our programs, and getting food on the table. It's got to come from somewhere. So I think it's such an important work and such important conversations to have. So a little segue, I would also love to hear your favorite area to visit within your district. If somebody's coming to Congressional District 13, where do they gotta be? Where do they gotta see?
Well, I think that me growing up here in Amarillo, so I'm a little biased more to Amarillo, but just outside of Amarillo is Polladoro Canyon. It is the second largest canyon right behind the Grand Canyon. And so that is a really beautiful place. So, weather pending, I would say that it's a fantastic area. It's huge. There's a lot of hiking trails, and I love hiking. As far as going to eat, this area just has a lot of, we're so close to Hereford, Texas, which is the beef capital of the world. So almost anywhere you go, there's really good steak everywhere. But I would say there's Polladoro Canyon, and then just going to many of our restaurants here in Amarillo. But there's even a lot of great ones in Wichita Falls too. I've been back and forth and then to all these other small towns. There's a ton of stuff here. So it's really great.
Excellent. All right, I got one more question for you before our whole quiz. I was wondering if you remember your first time voting.
Let me see. I think it happens to be the voting for John Kerry. I think that was when I turned 18. I registered as a Democrat, and it was John Kerry running against George Bush. I think that was the first time. I'm pretty sure that was the first time I voted. Yeah, a long time ago.
Well, it's really exciting. We have so many first-time voters, and I think it's important to remind people, everyone has to vote for the first time, even people running for Congress. And it can be kind of, it's fun, You always remember your first. So.
Exactly.
All right, so our quiz today, my mother mailed me a bunch of candy. I don't have any trick-or-treaters that come by, so I've just been eating all of it. So I have a true and false quiz for you on candy. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, true or false? White chocolate is also part of the chocolate family.
I think that's false.
It is false. Although it's actually not made with the cocoa powder, and it tastes similar, but it's not considered chocolate at all.
Oh, okay.
All right. Question 2, true or false? In the movie E.T., the candy originally eaten was supposed to be M&Ms, but they switched to Reese's because Drew Barrymore did not like M&Ms.
True.
That is true, but it wasn't because of Drew Barrymore. M&M's contractors messed up and couldn't get the contract in time, so they had to switch companies, and that's how Reese's got it. And supposedly they missed out on millions and millions of dollars. So.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Okay, wow. True or false? The Three Musketeers bar used to include 3 flavors in one single bar.
False.
So that is true.
Really?
They used to have vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. But then in World War II, when things were getting cut, they switched them all to chocolate and never went back.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, in the 1980s, the Olsen twins were spokespersons for Twizzlers.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember when that... I'll say true. I think I kind of remember seeing the commercials, but I'm not sure.
All right, it's false, but good try. But little Annie from Annie's Orphanage, the musical, she was an endorser for Kraft Camels.
Wow.
She did some candy things, and I guess it didn't carry on well. Okay, we got another celebrity one. The Baby Ruth bar is named after the professional baseball player Babe Ruth.
That's true, I would think, right?
So it's a little controversial. It is true, supposedly, but the company couldn't afford the branding, so they've spent tons of PR work saying that it's some other grandpa's daughter, just so they didn't give Babe Ruth any money towards it.
Wow. I did not know that. Man, these are really good facts. I don't know where you're getting them from, but that's awesome.
There's got to be something going on up there.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. Candy facts is Okay, in the original M&M pack, there was no blue. True or false?
I would say true.
So there was no blue until 1995, and they replaced tan in the M&M packs.
Makes sense.
Wow. Okay, last question. Kit Kat was named after the inventor of its pet. True or false?
I'll say false.
It is false. It was actually named after a 17th century nightclub, and the guy who owned its name was Christopher Cattling, and so that's where it came from.
Wow, I would have thought it was more the dog than the nightclub, but okay.
Well, you did really well on our chess, and you also are going to do so well when you're going to be representing the people of North Texas. I'm so excited to see your ideas get carried into DC. But there's still a couple days left. Have you voted?
Yeah. I was actually going to vote, and then this storm hit, so I'm thinking I'm going to go tomorrow when it all melts. So
I think that's a really great example why we don't want to wait till election day. There could be a snowstorm. So go vote early, everybody. Find your polling place at mytexasvotes.com. And where can we find you, Gus? What's your socials? What's your website? Where can we volunteer for you? How can we give you money? What's going on?
Yeah, the best way is I have all my links on my website. It's Gus Trujillo, and you can kind of see how it's Trujillo.com. So there's all my stuff on there, even Ballotpedia, a way to email me. So there's all my stuff on there, even Ballotpedia, a way to email me, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck in these last few days.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in TC, all right?
Sounds good. Good to talk to you. Thank you.
You as well. Have a great day, guys.